Hi, dyslexic genius here, Brett Hurt. I'm going to talk about how to build one of these, a belt for an Edison machine or a Columbia. And it gets a little complicated, and I'll try to go very slowly for you. You'll take your old belt off, and like the early Edisons that bolt down here, we have bolts here and here, you're going to have to loosen these so that you can pull the top casting up a little like that, so that you can get the belting material underneath like this. Okay.
Why do you have to put it underneath?
Because when this is locked down, it won't go underneath. Some will let you do it, some won't. So you take your belting material, and if you're doing your first belt, I would buy a little extra to do this. First, we have to feed it through the slot right here. And we will hold it on top, the top pulley. We will wind this around like this and bring this up like that. So we're pretty close. There we go. So now we're going to overlap with the pulley a little. We're going to mark it with our thumb. You can see how it's overlapped here. We will take a new straight razor and we will cut it, making sure it's square. Now we will re-thread it through. Holding it at the top. My angel's helping me because she's wonderful. I'm gonna pull that one out. You're gonna hold this with your finger and you'll put this around and you make sure you get it under the belt tensioner right here. And you don't want it down. See how this is hitting the pulley? So when I pull on the belt, you see how everything tightens up. And that's about right. Now, if you see my fingers are on the top pulley, and then I can move this like this. Okay? So now what you're going to do, see how my finger, that's about right. You're going to come over here, and the top overlap piece up here, we have the top piece. You're just going to mark it with a straight razor and cut it. And there's the pulley. Now you're going to take this. We have the mark. And we're going to trim that. Now what we have to do is the belt comes around like this. And now we're going to trim both edges. I'm going to show you how to do this. I always come on the front of the machine, I always have the top piece onto the belt. So we're going to take the top piece, we're going to rotate it over, and we're going to roughly take a new straight razor and we're going to trim down like we're going to make a chisel.
So you're trimming off some of the underside.
And now you can see I've trimmed some of the underside off. The bottom one is always trickier than the top one.
Why?
Because the leather, that's the hide part of the outside of the hide. We'll just trim that. Now we will rotate over. We've done the bottom, now we'll do the top. See how that much better. You can see how it cuts it. Then you will take these two and bring them together. just like that. Now what we're going to do is we're going to get our Starbucks stopper swizzle stick. We're going to take some wood glue, pinch of wood glue. I like wood glue because it has better bonding than white glue. We're going to take a little of this and we'll put it right here on this piece right here.
So you're putting it on the chiseled off piece of the top.
And the chiseled off piece of the top. Now you're going to take the two pieces. You have to line them because if you go farther this way, it raises the leather up. So I lay it down, line that up. That looks good. And it has to be square right there. And now you hold it with your fingers. And the heat in your fingers is going to dry this, is going to heat this up. It's very interesting. And while you're doing that, you can give the belt a little stretch.
Why don't you glue it while it's on the machine?
Oh, you can't do that. That'd be really hard. Now, a friend of mine, Wyatt, taught me a trick. I take these vice grips that have thin on them. You can use a pair of pliers. And we're going to make it look like it's a professional piece. We're going to put a little mark in there. And that's going to make little ridges in it. It's going to look like you did a professional job. In the old days, I sewed these, and some customers have me sew them together, and that's fun to do. You hold all this together. Now, while you're thinking about all this and the belt is drying, you want to make sure that you clean the pulleys off with a little paper towel with lacquer thinner. And you want to make sure when you look at it, you can see the pulley here and you can see this pulley here. You want to make sure those are in line. They have to be in line because if they're not in line, the belt's going to wiggle off, okay? So the pulley is going to be here and the bottom pulley is going to be here and the belt's going to be running like this. So you got to get it to like this so it's running straight. You also can, you know, look down and go, yeah, that looks pretty close. Now, because I raised everything up.
Raised what up?
I loosened this right here. Remember we talked about that earlier in the video? Mm-hmm. Now I can get the belt underneath. And then you will just drag this, grab that like that. And now what you're going to do is you're going to go under the belt tensioner wheel here, and then you're going to rotate around. You see how, you see the tension here when I do this? See how the belt flips? Now watch. Oh, there it is. Now what you want to do is crank up the machine and let it run a minute and make sure that the belt's running straight and smoothly. And that's all there is to it. You know, when you do your first one, you'll be a little bit nervous, but I grab a little extra belting material to do this. This is a lot of fun. Now all we have to do, because we have a bottom casting and a top casting on these early Edisons, I want to make sure that all the little rubber things are in there I've talked about.
What little rubber things?
There's little rubber cushions on each corner right here on these, and we're just going to, I made sure those didn't move, and we'll just tighten this down a little, which is also going to make the belt, there we go. Those don't have to be real tight, but just kind of snug. Now when we look, we're good to go. It's kind of a lot of fun to build your first belt. I was totally confused when I did my first one 100 years ago. Didn't know what I was doing, messed things up, and now I know what I'm doing. I like pointing these things out, and that's my tip for the day.